All right, Dan Mann.
Yes, sir.
Dude, welcome.
Yeah.
So stoked to have you here. This is rad.
Good. Yeah, no, I'm stoked, really stoked to be here and glad you put this all together.
No, I'm stoked. I mean, it's funny because you've become like this prolific face in like podcasts and interviews, and there's a lot going on, which is a big part of the story. So the fun part is that we go back through the paddleboard world, back to the 90s. Mm-hmm. I mean, which is amazing because you don't look like you're old enough to do that, but I know the story because you've actually been doing the classic longer than I have.
Okay.
And we will talk about that. But I think the first time we were in a race together was 1996, which was a race we can talk about because that wasn't a very fun one. But, But we go back.
That was your first year?
That was my first year doing it. Yeah. Okay. Which was rad. So we'll nerd out on prone paddling a little bit. Mm-hmm. But the fun part about this one is, and as I said, like you're so prolific in the surf world right now for so many reasons that we're going to uncover a bunch of other stuff too, which is, cool. I think, really fun to tell the whole story because you have this big history that leads you today where you are, it's really been an amazing path to watch because when I first met you, I think you were just starting to dabble with surfboard.
Yeah, like 96 was the year I made my first surfboard.
Yeah. So when I met you, like we were in our 20s, right? And today, a couple years later, you're shaping for guys like Slater. You just won with him, you won the Stab in the Dark, which we'll talk about, and got second place in the Ethan one, which 2 podiums out of 2 at-bats is pretty incredible. And so you've gotten all this airtime and attention. And I'm like, there's so much more to Dan than just a surfboard shaper.
I'm glad you think so.
Well, I know so because I've seen it all along. Like I knew you when you were just starting to, you were kind of, we would have thought of you as kind of like a backyard shaper in those days. And then we also got to watch you because you have this race down in San Diego called the Loop that we used to go down and do. And you would raffle a board and there'd be a fish, a mankind fish. And that's kind of what I thought of you. And then here you are making the most high precision, incredible boards for the best surfers in the world. It's a cool story.
Fun ride.
Yeah, right on. So what we're going to do today, Dan, is kind of like, this is your life. Like, I'm super curious as to like, how did this all happen? Like from a prone paddler in Coronado to, what you're doing today and who you're spending time with and getting all this airtime. Cool. And so, but what's cool is I know enough about the story, and I've met your dad a couple times over the years, which is we'll go there. But
that's a story.
Yeah, it's a story in itself. But I knew of you on Coronado down in San Diego, but it goes further back. So can we just jump right in? Like, where did you grow up? And we'll just go right from there. Is that cool?
Sure. Yeah, totally cool. Well, I was born in LA, and that was sort of the beginning of constantly moving. So when I was 3 months old, we moved to Hawaii, and my dad was in the restaurant business, and there were a lot of moves that were short term because he opened up restaurants on the mainland, and we were going back and forth between Maui and the mainland. Recently, just to kind of wrap it up in a succinct way, I would say I was raised in Hawaii on Maui until about 11. I did 2 years on the East Coast because of restaurants, and then thank God moved back to San Diego when I was about 13.
Got it.
13 and a half. And
crazy. Yeah. Well, okay, but there's so much in there, so I'm going to dig. So what's interesting is, so your dad, let's talk family real quick, because that's going to like lead back to why all the travel. I thought the travel, all the moving around was based on something totally different. So can you talk about your family? Yeah. When you were born, mom and dad, and
sure.
You talked restaurants, but there's a lot more to it.
Yeah. So my dad was in the Navy. He was an East Coast escapee, he calls it. He was a prep school guy, and he just completely revolted. And he was getting out of college in the late 50s and realized the best way out of the draft was to just go into OCS. And so he went OCS.
And that's an officer training school or whatever?
Yeah, officer candidate school for the Navy. And he volunteered into the Navy that way, and then so he was an officer in the Navy and heard about being a frogman. And
frogman's precursor to the SEALs today.
Right, yep. And so when he read a Life magazine article about it and was like, that's what I'll do. And I'll just beat everyone to the punch, go volunteer, go CS, be an officer, and do whatever these guys do. Because he had a really strong swimming background. And that's kind of the roots of where I'm at, is his swimming and this one swim coach he had. And he just loved the water. And then his ability in the water, he held some records. He was a really good swimmer. It led him to be real comfortable with going through the training of being a frogman. And it was brutal. Back then especially, I'm sure it's still tough now. But his generation would say it's not, but
right.
But they.
Well, your dad was interviewed by Jocko Willink.
Yeah.
I listened to that a couple years ago, or a year, whatever it was ago, and it helped me connect a lot of the dots for this too. I was like, because I have met Lance, your dad, because he's done some of the races. So keep going. The story is incredible.
Yeah. So that water thing got him out here in the Navy, and then it blew up for him in surfing. So him surfing and ocean, which led to me being all surfing and ocean and outriggers and paddling and all that stuff, all started when he got into the Navy. Because then he was like, oh, wow, the Pacific Ocean, where he wanted to be the whole time. He saw immediately surfing, went and bought a Hobie, and it was just game time. From there on,
was that in San Diego or
that
in
was
Hawaii?
all San Diego,
Coronado.
Yep, yeah, because that's where the training is and was. So yeah, he went huge into that, and then he as he got out of the Navy, he was trying to figure out what to do. Didn't want to be he tried to go back to the East Coast and have a proper job with a suit and tie, and he just completely melted down. Then moved, saw an ad in a newspaper for being a teacher in Punahou on Oahu. And so he applied, got the job, brand new daughter. My sister, she was 5 years older than me, was born on the East Coast, but they moved out there when she was little. And so and then he was Punahou, and then he's like, I need a little more money. So he started waiting tables at night with restaurants. And then between those two things, he was like, hey, the restaurant business, some old SEAL team guys were starting Chart House at the time. And those guys were born and raised California.
Yep.
And so he started getting the vibe of what that was all about, real, just like the seamlessness between life and the ocean. Those guys were living that, and the Chart House was that, especially in the early days. And so he went in and out of the Chart House, owned his own restaurants, as well as collaborating with the Chart House guys, primarily on Maui, and while I was a kid. So that was Little Lahaina Chart House, Kahului Chart House.
Amazing.
Yeah, Wailea.
And when you start connecting, like you think about, so this is early 60s probably?
So he was early 60s in the Navy. Restaurants started in the late 60s for him. And then Punahou was late 60s. And then I was born in 72 when he was out here in LA at Hermosa Chart.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it was all chart. And that was when I listened to that, I was like, oh, he was in, like the beginning of the Chart House
Very
is
early.
the who's who of surf back in those days and Waterman, right?
Right.
And being at Punahou.
Yeah. Mark Cunningham was,
Mark Cunningham was what?
It was one of his, would have been students,
Really?
he was there at the time, yeah.
I mean, just like in the place. And I think when you start to think about the life you live, you're like, oh, I can start to see, it's all about connecting the dots, like how you ended up doing that. So you grew up in, you said in Lahaina.
Well, so I was 3 months old when we moved to Lahaina, and he was opening up the Lahaina Chart House in 73. I think it actually officially opened. Might have been late. I think it was early 73. And that was a classic crew of people that were ironically from Coronado and San Diego that opened up the Chart out there.
So I didn't realize that Chart House people, I knew they were all surf. I didn't realize they came out of the SEAL teams or
the founders, they were all skiers and surfers. Yeah, they did Aspen first, and then I think Shelter Island second. Coronado was third, and then the founder guys started kind of taking a back seat to Ron Smith, and Ron Smith was sort of the guy who took them and ran, like bumped up the number of restaurants, and they had the idea of owning the real estate, paying with cash, having a little bit of debt with banks and stuff, but no investors. So they kept it really tight knit. So it was a really hardcore, cool, smart business, and service and quality food, but simple.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I grew up with the one here in Newport, which was one of the early
days.
ones.
That was where John Creed started.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I have friends, older brothers that worked there, and then friends that worked there this is years later into the 80s and 90s, but we spent a lot of time at the one here in town.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, you'll appreciate this one, Roy Breen.
Yeah.
Roy
he got me
Breen.
into paddling.
No way.
Yeah.
So Roy used to work at my store in Encinitas.
Okay.
And he used to be the guy. Roy's an old, big-time prone paddler, crazy
I think he got
waterman.
second in Catalina.
And he had this Joe, there's a picture of him on my phone of the Joe Quigg 1958 prone board, which is down at Spencer Kroll's place. And I got to go check it out.
Killer.
It's pristine and amazing.
Oh,
so we're
good.
So now I'm nerding out. Yeah. I said I wasn't going to do it, but Roy worked in my store, but I didn't realize it for a while. And this guy would, any pretty girl that walked in, this older guy would walk over and chat him up, and it ends up he starts talking about paddling, and it ends up being Roy. This is 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And then he shares this photo with me. It's this historic Joe Quigg board that's here. Just interesting stuff. But those are, I'm guessing those days with your dad, and your dad's probably one, like, it's all characters.
Oh, yeah.
Incredibly competent, amazing water people characters, right?
And that's what, like, kind of, you know, you're talking about my current position with surfing and everything, but surfing then was first generation for most surfers. And it requires a different type of character. And I think that's what you're hitting on is like the way that people have to be in order to go and do something like that. They didn't have wetsuits. They didn't have leashes. You're a total wuss if you used a leash. There's a bumper sticker that was going around for a while. The leash ruined surfing. And it's just things like that. It was just like, it was before the really hardcore 80s, like local get out of here. It was even before that. It was like a seed planting era of first generation surfers that were very pioneering, and it took a different type of character.
Sure. Well, when you're going to surf Hawaii because of the allure of big waves and you're riding those kind of boards, you got to be able to swim. You're self-contained. You're on your own, right? And they were all lifeguards and all this.
Forgetting wax. There's no surf shops, you know, stuff like that. It was just like a pain in the ass to surf, you know?
So, but talk about living in Hawaii, growing up there with a dad that's in that world, prolific waterman. Like, how did the surf and the ocean come to, like, when did it come into play for you?
Right away. Yeah, I was on the nose of his board surfing. We surfed a little spot in Lahaina called Shark Pit. And he had an outrigger. We were always, that was the lifestyle that I really loved and still do, is any day would just zigzag in and out of the water. It was always, like, even if I have a big plane ride or whatever, I got to get in the water first, you know. And that sort of, my buddy calls it, you know, getting the gills wet, and that kind of the feeling of having been the surfing is great. Surfing is the core of why I love the ocean. However, the older I get, the more zoomed out I can get my things. Is my point of view is what I really like about surfing is the ocean. And that was kind of, you know, it was pretty ideal situation. We were walking distance from the ocean, you know, so we could surf before school and all that kind of stuff. It was great.
Rad.
Yeah, well, it set the tone.
You've kind of, again, not getting into surf yet, but like you've always been a shaper of like the ride anything movement. You're making longboards, and you're making fish, and you're making alt boards, and you're making all kinds of interesting stuff. I'm guessing, I mean, that's kind of what it was. Like back in those days, they were paddling, surfing, body surfing, riding mats, all that stuff. Yeah. We talked offline. We had Buddy Bond in here who was going over there around the same time, probably close in age to your dad. And he was talking about what they were riding over there. And again, same kind of.
Yeah, Hawaii's still that way, where they just surf everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know your dad also became a big paddler, right? He was doing
like, he did Catalina twice.
Catalina prone?
Yep, and he did. He and his buddy who just passed, and a couple other longtime friends, they won Molokai with So it was
9-man outrigger, right? Yeah. So outrigger. Like, you're like that apple that like didn't just fall far, like it bounced off every branch on the way down, right? Like you're very much following the footsteps of your dad. In a lot of ways.
I think so, and just the people that influenced him as well. And he was really good about going, hey, watch that guy too. You know, he wasn't like, do everything I do everything I say at all. He was very modest that way. And he's like, here's the world. Check out these characters too.
Right. Well, one of the things that has stuck with me about your dad, and I don't know where it stands today, but like, I think he became a lifeguard later in life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What did he do?
Yeah, so the Chart House was bought, and then like the death of a lot of good businesses is they're owned by people who don't get it. So he saw the writing on the wall, and so he retired early with Chart House, and he not enough money to properly retire. He wasn't like that, but as he just was like, or whatever. So he started lifeguarding, and how old? That was about, I think he was 60. Yeah, 62.
Well, lifeguarding, but lifeguarding is consuming, but qualifying, that you're going against all the high school water polo players and swimmers and runners, and you're like that says maybe more than almost anything about your
That's
dad.
Right, and that's good you point that. I was the instructor of his lifeguard academy.
No way, really?
In San Diego. Yeah, it's funny. It was all through a junior college, Miramar. But yeah, he went through the training program, and it's a pain in the ass, man. You got to run a mile in under 8 minutes. You know, like you're saying, that part's way harder than
against
actually.
a bunch of 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
Good for him.
So
That's amazing.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, listen, I don't know anything about Mom, but we should probably give her some credit because none of this happens without her.
No, she was the ballast to his craziness for sure. And yeah, she had her own she marched to the life in a different way, but she was awesome and very loving and tried really hard and cared about the family, and she was awesome. So
and then
tip of the hat.
Siblings. I know
one
sisters.
Of them. Yep. 2 older sisters, Jennifer and Hadley, and Jen's 5 years older than me. My other sister's 3 years older. And my little brother, Dougie, who, lives
a mile or two from right here, right?
Yeah, he's 11 years younger. So he was the way younger sibling.
Well, another interesting one, I don't know your sisters, but Doug is an incredible creative artist and creative, and you're super creative with a different media.
Yeah.
But like did that come from one of your parents, do you think, or is that?
Yeah, that's a good question. They both were, they both kind of took life and didn't follow normal paths. Their parents both wanted them to be, proper American dream type things. And they both kind of wavered from that, I would say, in their own ways. Yeah, the creativity is on both sides of the family. And just sort of I guess my brother and I have both done by kind of, we just kind of extended with what my dad was doing with anything but falling for what everyone else says you should do. We were like, okay, we're going to keep that theme. I'd say between my brother and I, that's the thing that's most in common is like, I'm not going to go put on a suit. I'm not going to follow a 9-to-5er. No way, that kind of thing. So it's I haven't really thought about that. It's a cool connection and good thing to recognize that I didn't see that thread.
But so you just said it. So but there's an underlying, like, I'm going this way. I'm not going that way.
No. You don't, you can talk to me, but don't tell me what to do.
Oh, okay. So it's so funny because if you watch any of Dan's interviews, like you're super, like this is you, like always laughing, big voice, big personality. But like I can see where like there's also there's a competitive side to you that I don't think that if somebody's talking to you like this would pick up on. But then and I'm foreshadowing, but if you look at what you've done in sport and in business and now in boards and everything else, like you're probably as competitive as they fucking come.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny because I'm glad to hear you swear because I was like trying to.
Oh, no. There's nothing like a well-placed F-bomb for sure.
So yeah, and it's interesting because as I get older, and I go, okay, well, what is that? And I'm considering racing some more this year and would, kind of toying with the idea in Catalina again. And, but like that fire, what is that? Is it healthy? And because ultimately I don't want to do anything, because a lot of those guys, those chart dudes that we were talking about, the guys at Chart House and my dad and stuff, they're banged up or they, struggled with, a lot of pros. I watch a lot of pro surfers and, even just pro athletes in general, the struggle they have once they're done with their thing. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to like hold on too long and keep racing and thinking I can race paddleboards and I'm actually not doing myself any service or anyone else any good. But I still want to race, but I don't care if, some younger guy or whatever, anyone beats me other than how well did I do? And did I get hurt? Did I do something stupid to try to like keep that going? So the competitiveness it used to be just a blind competitiveness. I just wanted to win and I was obsessed with my work. I'm obsessed with racing. Yeah. But at what cost? I have a sore back because of it, and so as you age, can you race and be competitive in a healthy way? And that's what I'm like kind of
20 ways. Well, it's interesting because I'm beyond that. I'm to the point where I have beat my body up to such a degree that I can paddle, but I can't race. I'm not going to beat anybody, but then again, I never did.
Yeah.
So, but I kind of have a rule for me these days, Dan, and it's like, nobody fucking cares.
Yeah.
Like, nobody cares if I win. Well, I'm not going to. Nobody wins if I get 10th or 20th.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to anybody. If I had fun, and these days I'm like, I go for long paddles and I'll go hard, but I'm not racing because again, it's just definitionally it's totally different. I went hard for the years that I went, but I still was never able to catch you.
Yeah. I think that's the process that you're getting into is what I am watching, and I'm watching a couple of documentaries recently. And it's the process of getting to the competition that you have to enjoy. Yeah. And that's the part that has to be.
The training is 98% of it.
Oh, and
right?
it's like, and if you're enjoying it, it's like, then what you just said is really true. Like, who cares how I do? Like, that was rad. Yeah. And look what I've done. Like I'm able to go surf for 6 hours and not even break a sweat.
The byproducts are good.
Yeah.
But for years, I was a one-trick pony. Like I wanted to do the best I could in Catalina, and everything else kind of fell to the wayside. And I tend to be that way. I'm kind of like all in, and I've had to back off of that because it isn't healthy for anything. Right? In my world, it just doesn't benefit anybody.
Right,
Nobody wins if I'm going that hard. Yeah, because I'm not going to win, and I'm not going to spend enough time at work or with my family or with a dog or whatever.
Yeah. You're dehydrated or whatever it is.
There's always unfortunately, it's when you're young and you can get away with it. Yeah. Now you have to be much more strategic. Yeah. Right. But at the same time, I know you took like 5th in your race a couple of weeks ago. So you're for you, it's just a matter of saying, am I going to like, what can I do? So I've never had the ability to go, if I go really hard, I might be able to win it again. Like I've never had that. I might be able to go faster than George, but I'm not going to go faster than Dan. Yeah. Like I just never.
Interesting.
So I've got a funny story about how the one time I got close to you, but it's a funny story. But listen, we were back to like, so you're in high school, you're lifeguarding in San Diego, and was college something that was on the radar that like your parents, they're like, you need to go, don't go, no big deal. Did you want to go? Like
it was, they never said I had to go, but it was real clear to me that I better. And now as I'm older, you got to do something with that time period of between 17 and 25, like, got to do something. And I hated it. And I probably now I would have not bothered. But then I was like, well, okay. And I just kind of trusted that all these other people were right, that you got to go get a college degree. So I muscled through. It took me 6 years. I was at junior college for 4, just taking classes, and like, I just hated it. But it was also a really good time for my surfing and realizing, okay, there are seams out there in the world that if you just sit back and watch, you can go and find those. And
like what?
Like, lifeguarding was a really good seam. And then restaurants, you can make $100 in a night and you're working for 4 hours and you're out of there. You still surf in the morning, sneak into school, and navigating school was a good one too, because you take certain classes, they double down and you're like, oh, okay, I don't need to, it's like what you were just saying about Pat. I just need C's, man.
Yeah. Get me through.
Yeah. And so finding out ways to do that. And so at one point I was an English major and I had 5 upper division, my last semester, all these, Chaucer and all this crap. Now I'm actually interested in it. But then I was just like, oh my God. And so I figured out all these ways. This is before the internet. So this is 96. And so, I would watch the movie of Wuthering Heights, and I'd just be like, I can figure out an essay. I can write an essay on that, and just bang things out and go in. I wouldn't even buy the Cliff Notes. I'd read the Cliff Notes in the book library, put it back on the shelf, and go to class and bang out an essay.
All right, hold on. How much is the cheat code part of your existence? Like, have you used that same strategy in other things? That
strategy is key, because the rat race, what everyone's thinking they're doing is not what we're all doing, and it's like you can act like you're doing all that stuff for a reason, but come on, man. What we really want to be doing is enjoying life and having a good time, and the cheat code within the it's cheating, but you're just doing it so that you just shut up. I got a college degree. Now I'm going to go do what I want to do. I own my own business, and you guys can think that it's all this and that or whatever, but it's actually this. And so just kind of letting people have their own ideas and perspectives on my story, and then what's really going on is my deal.
Well, it's so funny you say that, because right now you're so in the limelight, probably more than any other time in your life, because of these Stab in the Dark accomplishments and working with Kelly. And there was some controversy. We'll get there in a little bit, but your name has been more, like if you're a surfer, you know Dan Mann's name now. Wow. Maybe more than ever before, right?
Yeah, I'm not aware of that, but yeah.
Well, listen, if you're a surf turkey at all, maybe not somebody that's just getting into it, but if you're somebody that has surfed of any age and you're into it and you watch contests or you watch the best surfers in the world, you're going to watch at least some of maybe clips of Kelly during, riding all these different shapers boards, or Ethan Ewing.
Yeah.
And like, when you win that or you get second in that, all of a sudden, Dan, you're out there and you're on a lot of podcasts and your face is out there and people are going to speculate about who Dan is. Who is this guy? Or when you have Britt Merritt saying stuff or whatever, like it's just interesting because you seem very low pro and kind of would rather be in the shadows. And you've been sucked into the limelight. Here you are again. Right? So I appreciate it. But it's been, but again, I'm somebody that's been on the outside more than the inside, watching this like anybody else, going, wow, Dan's there and he's there and there and there. And like they're talking about him. All these guys are talking about his boards and him as a shaper. And, and then there's the made for drama stuff. Like it's super interesting. It's fun to watch. But I love hearing this like my way, this alternative path.
Sure. Every time. Yeah. And
So you get this English degree, right? I assume you get it after 6 years.
Oh yeah, man. 2.7.
And then got you out the door. Where'd you go? I know you went
State.
You went to San Diego State. Yeah. Okay, I was at USD right around the same time that you were. So we might have been surfing in the same areas for a minute there. You're lifeguarding at the same time?
Yeah. Lifeguarding and working at the chart house.
At the chart house too. Oh, so you were following Dad's footsteps on that.
Yeah, well, that was the best deal. I mean, like I said, 4 hours, 3 days a week.
And they feed you well.
You eat like crazy.
Yeah. No, I didn't realize that. Okay, insane. Rad. So Coronado, like you were Coronado, like full blown. Were you living there during college too? Living there, working
at my parents' house, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, rad.
I was like, I'm so bad at school. I'm not going to cost you guys any money.
That's so funny. So you're guarding. You're graduating from college. You got a degree. You're lifeguarding. What do you do? What are you doing?
So that was it. Started I realized I wasn't surfing as good as I needed to be a pro surfer. That came real clear. I started longboarding and I had a little run with doing the Bud Pro Tour, and I got sponsored by Rusty, and then that was pretty cool because being in the world of what Rusty was. And having access to, he had a stable of hand shapers, that Terry Goldsmith, Stu Kenson, Hoy Runnels, and all these rad shapers, including Rick Hammond and Rusty himself, who did most of it. And that was peak Rusty. And I was like, this is cool, like making stuff. And I loved woodworking and making stuff. And I was like, man, if I could combine the chart house service, always answering the phone, I could maybe break into being a shaper. Because I like making boards, I love surfing, and I was good enough that I could know if a board was a piece of shit or not. And my first 500 were. I made sure of that. But that idea of, okay, there's an opportunity to not have to work weekends and holidays at the restaurant. I could start my own business and be a shaper, and I can get into that world by just offering good service, being on time. And say, hey, if your board's gonna be ready in 4 weeks, and hit it, or 2 weeks, or you need a rush, I'll hit it.
Are you saying that's uncommon in the surf world to get a board on time?
Yeah. Now it's terrible.
It's always been. And the more you ask, the longer it takes, right?
Well, that's how it is with me. But at the time,
that's really funny.
I'm like,
it's nice to be needed as opposed to back in the day. So when you started, were you just shaping out of the garage? Did you have a shop? Were you shaping for somebody else?
So at first Stu Kenson let me use his room.
So who's Stu Kenson for people's names?
Stu's a classic. He was actually an Orange County kid growing up in San Clemente, then moved to San Diego, and he made my boards in the late 80s, early 90s.
He's known for something.
Yeah, well, he's done rad things. He and Joel Tudor worked a lot together. He makes boards for Taylor Jensen now. He was an incredible surfer, goofy footer, high performance longboards was his deal. He did all kinds of crazy alternative quads, twinsers, bonzers.
So a good influence for you.
Yeah, really eye-opening and like a blaze your own trail kind of guy too. And he let me use his room, and then I started building my own rooms, and one of the best ones was at same exact beach. My dad went through training as a frogman, a SEAL team. Training is at the amphib base in Coronado, the south side of Coronado. Now it's all fancy and you can't access it. But back then I was lifeguard on the Navy base on North Island. And that was another seam. Like I didn't want to work for the regular lifeguard guys because they're too like fireman, you know, they're like, you had to be all dressed up in fancy outfits. We just wanted to surf and paddle. And so we were at North Island, and it was more under the radar lifeguarding. And so then one of the benefits of that is there's all these abandoned rooms. So we converted one of the abandoned like rooms on the beach into a shaping room. And so like for a couple of years, I shaped out of this, and I'd like go in there at 4 a.m, shape, go to work at lifeguarding at 9, sometimes work restaurants at night. And so that was 96, 97, 98. I was doing that grinding. Then the service thing started becoming a problem because I'd shape 8 or 9 boards a week, and then I wouldn't be able to get control over the glassing. And the glassing would take 4-6 weeks, and I'd be like, come on. So then I started trying to wrap my head around how do I own the whole production? And I wanted to be able to do that in order to provide the service and have more of a career, because I was starting to burn out on lifeguarding.
And this is all the way back in 96.
That's 98. That idea started. That was when I was married.
And so you would have been how old?
At 98. I was 26.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Is that right?
Right around there.
Yeah. Jeez, that's young.
So you're burning out on guarding.
Yeah,
You're shaping a lot under your own brand.
Mankind.
Mankind all the way back then.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And that was when we started the loop in 97. And I remember the board. I was like, oh, it was one of those things.
97 was the first year of the loop.
Year, yeah.
What's the real quick? What's the loop? Just for anybody.
Yeah. So the loop is a paddleboard race we put on, starting obviously in 97. It starts at the south side of Coronado. If you know Coronado, it's a peninsula, and it's a perfect setup because we would do it for training for Catalina. You could park at the bottom and go around. It was about 11 miles, and you'd finish or start, all in the same spot.
Yep. Right.
And so you'd have a little bit of the paddle in the ocean, a little bit of the paddle in the bay. So that race was a great setup because we did it in May, late May. Back then, and it was a good setup for this other race called the Bay to Bay, which was my
very first race.
Yeah,
20 miler.
Gnarly.
Yeah, I learned a lot on my very first one.
Oh man, that's a hard race.
I learned a lot.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then that was the thinking of it is 11 miles. Bay to Bay is 20 what?
20. I think it was 20 even.
Yeah. And then Catalina like a month or two later. So that was the idea. And since then there've been a lot more races that have come and gone, but yeah, it all kind of came together, and I loved that. I loved having my race. I loved being in paddling. I loved the way that paddling and surfing crossed over, and it was just a real natural progression to own my own business and start going for it. So that was when I bought a glassing, an existing glass shop with a crew that was just kind of nosediving, and they weren't stoked anymore. So I bought that in 2001, the same year my son was born.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, here we go, family man.
So you were talking, we'll get back to all the prone stuff, which will be fun, but you said service quite a bit. That's my whole world, right? That's my whole world. Where did you learn service? The restaurant business?
Chart House, yeah. They had a slogan that says something along the lines of, hang your bummers on the door when you walk in. We're a clean place serving quality food with friendly service, right. And that's it. And just go, and if you need to give the guy a free mud pie because his steak was overdone or whatever you need to do, you just make him stoked.
That is a timeless model that doesn't exist anymore, right?
Margin. Grind.
Yep, totally. Rad. So entrepreneur, did you see yourself as, this come under, you said you were kind of burning out and that's why you wanted to control the whole path. Mm-hmm. Did you think of yourself as an entrepreneur, or did you see this as an opportunity you needed to pursue?
Yeah, it was an opportunity, and I couldn't stand the bureaucracy of so I was instructing as a lifeguard instructor, and it was just like these things you guys are doing. It was like an example of, okay, when the instructors would all meet, hey, we got to kill an hour. What should we do? And then you go out to the students and you're like, okay, I was like, come on, man, who are we fooling? So I didn't like that ambiguity. I was like, I just need to do my own thing. And so that it was an opportunity because a lot of, like you say, if you said, hey, your board's gonna be ready in 4 weeks and you hit it, guys will come back even if it's not that great of a board. So I knew I had a long road ahead of me in learning how to be a good shaper and but if I'm competing against gurus and guys who are established. How do you get the team riders? How do you get the clientele to keep coming back? And that was the low hanging fruit at the time. And so that stayed that way for a long time. Yeah, just out hustle everybody.
And you were shaping everything from back then. Were you
hand shaping? Oh yeah. Just everything and pre-machines. I didn't start getting into machines real heavy until about 2008.
Why don't you talk about that? Because let me ask you a question because it'll foreshadow a little bit.
Yeah.
Any idea how many hand shapes you've done in your life?
No. Definitely 15,000-ish, start to finish.
That's incredible.
Yeah, the cooler thing to me, because banging out a PU is great, but
polyurethane.
Polyurethane. Is it's cool, but the mold, the way that the blanks come out of the blank mold, it's like what's even cooler is taking like blocks of foam and then really making something like from the very beginning, gluing up the foam and piecing things together as like you would a Lego system. And then at the end it's like, this looks like a regular board, man. That's pretty cool. So doing the whole spectrum and getting good at all that, including laminating, including all the alternative ways to glass a board. That was really important to me. Get really good at each thing. And if not good, proficient and fully understanding it, including the machines, including the sales and distribution. And all that was really helpful and important to me.
Well, that's rad. And I respect that because I think there's probably not a ton of shapers. You can go down, check the boxes of a surfer that surfs really well and a lifeguard and a prone paddler. And then you take in somebody that's done everything, owned his own shop, shaped his own boards all the way through, pre-machines, with machines, laminated, everything to the end with good customer service. I have to laugh have to guess and laugh with everything going on in your world, as we talked about, with all the exposure and all the awareness. People didn't know your name. You weren't one of those names unless you really were a board nerd. Because most of your stuff was under Firewire, and we'll talk Firewire in a second. But Mankind wasn't really a known brand on the world stage.
Yeah.
But your boards are out there. I asked you said about 15,000 hand shapes. Any idea how many boards are associated with you that have been done by Firewire or anything like Dan Mann shaped, Dan Mann designed?
No, it's a lot. Yeah.
I mean, you're in the top 10 shapers in the world, somewhere up
volume?
there. By volume?
Yeah, maybe.
Which is incredible.
And that's a testament to, thanks. And it's a testament to the other parts of the business and how complicated that is and how hard that is. And that's what Firewire would do is sales, distribution, manufacturing them. And so that was,
But they couldn't make a shitty board really good.
Yeah, exactly.
They can take a really good board and then mass produce it, but they can't. So it starts with the refinement and everything that you've done.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, so you're doing all the hand shaping, you're touching everybody. You've got this business that you've started. How was it owning that shop and learning everything? I'm sure there was heavy, right? Oh,
it was gruesome. Well, I mean, I still deal with my back pain from it. So that's a whole, the entirety of that whole thing of 01. So then a month later, 9/11 happens and I'm starting to be exposed to all this, that kind of stuff. And, and then raising a family, being so naive to think that you can be a surfboard maker and own a house in Southern California as the sole provider to a family. And it was insane. It was just ridiculous. So the reality of what I thought was just going to be the American dream kind of thing, that's another whole side of the story to me.
When did you figure that out?
I was sitting on the phone talking to my dad. I'm like, there's two different conversations that I was sitting in the same spot. I'm all, it was so in 02, a year after I opened the glass shop, we got Rusty and Channel Islands as contract glassing all on the same day. So fast forward another year or two, and we were doing like $1 million worth of manufacturing a year, and I was just broke. I was like, Dad, when the fuck do I make money? How do you do this? And I only started with a $20,000 loan. It was a very affordable situation, especially compared to what businesses start with these days. And And I was like, God, when do you cash in? He just started laughing. He's, I don't know, man. Good luck, kind of a thing. And he just listened to me, And I remember having that conversation going, this is crazy. This is so hard. Like, how do you squeeze a margin out of this? I thought if I did $1 million worth of sale, you'd think you'd make 200 grand, It's like not even close. The sander was making more than my family, what I was bringing home to my family. And so anyway, that reality, just kind of, I don't know.
What'd you do?
Well, so the next conversation with them, I was sitting in the same spot.
Hold on. Where were you sitting?
It was out in front of my shop. I backed into the same spot where I'd parked the car. And I was like, okay, now this company wants to buy these guys, these hotshot, slick talking clothing from Billabong. This guy, Dougal Walker, he's good, great guy, but his hair was slick and he wore those kinds of sunglasses, And I was like, I don't know if I trust it.
Exactly what you like, right? It's the last thing you're going to trust.
I love Dougal Walker is one of my favorite people on the planet. Okay, cool. And at the time I was like, I don't know, he's a little too slick. He's got a little too much money. He's a little too much Billabong. And the seed money for Firewire was all from Australia, mostly from the Billabong going public acquisition. Mm-hmm. And so these guys came in with Nev Hyman, and
big Australian shaper.
And they were like, we want to buy your shop. It's a big, long story, but they want to buy my shop in 2006. Clark Foam had just closed in 2005. I thought I was leading edge, and I thought everyone was going to go to epoxy and EPS foam, which is a different technology than Clark. And I thought Clark was never going to be replaced and all that stuff. So I thought I was leading the charge. Instead, they wanted to buy my business. You never know what's going to happen, And so they wanted to buy my business. And I'm like, God, do I give up my sovereignty and go and risk dealing with this bureaucracy thing again?
So what was the offer? They were going to buy the shop, but you were going to come in-house and be
the freaking guy for California, for the manufacturing of the U.S. manufacturing. Wow. And they were like, we're going to be huge. We're going to sell this many boards. It ended up being pie in the sky. But they were very aggressive on what they spent and how they were going to do the business. And they got their asses handed to them in a lot of ways. However, they stuck it out. This guy, Mark Price, was the CEO. They pulled
South African, ex-pro industry guy, right?
Yep, full on. And his perseverance, it ended him in the hospital a few times, but his perseverance is why we're still here today as Firewire. But that level of... it was an interesting paradox because they were like, yeah, buy the machine. Yeah, buy the the robot.
You did sell to them.
Yeah, I ended up selling.
And you went in-house in that role.
Yep. And then I quickly was like, not able to be the general manager, manufacturing, we need to hire 50 people. I'm like, you got to train them, and I had a different mentality. They're like, no, we'll figure it out. So they hired another guy to take that role. And I became the shaper guy over there, just go clean up those boards. And that's when I did a ton of different materials and learned how to shape like wood and really learned how to work hard and shape a lot.
Got it. Give everybody just the quick elevator speech of what's different. Firewire comes in and what they are today, technologies, mass production, high quality. Yeah. Just quick.
Yeah, so it's largely misunderstood, but yeah, they have a sophisticated process that instead of using a molded polyurethane or EPS blank, shaping that and glassing it, they're building a very, very highly engineered core structure that has hard rails, a hard deck, a hard bottom, skin, with an interior that's really lightweight. It's all put together under different vacuuming and CNC processes.
So super high tech. This is
super sophisticated.
Aerospace.
And it's so underappreciated. And everyone calls it a pop out. And it's like, you can hate Firewire. You can hate me. But hey, man, you're an absolute fool if you call that a pop out because you don't know what you're talking about, because it's extremely sophisticated. It can be even better. I think we could get even better and more sophisticated and more refined and tuned. That's infinite. We can do that until the end of time. And I really believe that. I hope we do that more and more and more. But that's it in a nutshell.
Got it.
Yeah.
And you said Mark Price kind of kept it going, went to the hospital a couple times.
Well, because we had 2008, the financial collapse.
And yet today, is it the biggest board producer? One of them?
Probably not by volume. There's some, we got a few soft talks out there.
We can't talk about that. Right.
But I think their numbers are as high as anybody's on a performance boards distribution around the world. I mean, up until a little while ago, there's shops in Eastern Europe and everywhere. Yeah, the boards are everywhere.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. What's interesting is when your boards, when early Firewire, the Dan Mann boards were more these, what we would call maybe more of an alternative shape. Things you came out with that were like, you had like a potato series and Chumleys and alternatives and more like the everyman board, especially like in the 90s. You were the same time. We were riding the wrong boards, like the Kelly Slater, super thin, potato chippy. And then we got all this volume. Yeah. And you seem to be like at the front edge of this kind of, fish were around, but this wasn't fish. This was a very different performance. And I would have thought you would probably classify those as performance, not grovelers, but like for average people in average waves, right?
For me, it was a board that I could go and try to rip on in shit surf. So you didn't have to be in the crowded spots or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And you had a full lineup of those on. And so I think reputationally, or at least for me, because again, I knew who you were, so it was a little different than maybe somebody that had no idea who Dan Mann was. Yeah. But watching the evolution of your boards, because then some years later, all of a sudden, I think that's all we thought. And there were some other higher performance boards, but you clearly were going down the performance road, because at some time 10-ish years ago, this guy named Kelly Slater starts riding your boards, and all of a sudden your name had a very different awareness out in the world.
Right.
What was the change from riding those kind of, maybe there wasn't a change. Maybe it was happening all along, but from the outside, it looked like you were like a specialist in these kind of, I don't know what we want to call them, performance fun boards, alternative boards. Yeah. And all of a sudden Kelly's riding, and he's only going to ride the most, precision, perfect, refined thing in the world. What was the path?
Well, it never went away. It was just what was, visible from the outside in shops and the outside world, and what Firewire wanted to say, because I didn't give a crap about. I didn't even have my logos on the boards at first. I didn't. I was just like, nope. I need to still learn. I'm too new into this. I'm only 10 years in and whatever. So
I've only done 10,000 handshapes.
But compared to
compared
to Rusty, Rick Hammond, and Al Merrick, and those kinds of guys, and Mike Eaton, and it's like Velzy, those guys. No. It was really clear where I stood in the ranking for me still at the time, and I wanted to earn my stripes. I didn't want to have a marketing team be able to blow me up. So, So the main thing with the performance boards, it was what I preferred the most. I wanted to surf bigger waves with barrels and try to rip, even though I never got there. And but the performance boards were what if I had my choice, I'd be surfing Hawaii or big waves here or whatever. And then the real lucky thing for me was I started making a couple boards for Punker Pat and
Pat Towers,
Archie,
local boy,
yeah.
And Archie. Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
So when I made a few for Archie, that was when I was like, "Holy shit! I can't believe my board can do that." And he loved a few of them. He ended up getting about 10 boards, and that relationship really made me go, "Holy crap! This is exciting!" Like one day we were surfing Blackies. After I fixed his board and brought it up to him, we were just talking, and he's all, "Let's go surf." And so we surfed, and he got this wave, and all he did was get a few pumps in a floater, and it was coming right at me though. And I'm like, holy shit. Like how does he not break it? Like, how does this, that level of surfing that was the first time I could feel how gnarly these guys were and how different the Ethan Ewings and Kelly Slaters and Archies are to us mortals. It's like, damn, man, the board is going through something completely different under their feet than when it is under mine. And so that was fascinating. And I kept making boards, and all my friends, my good friends that were ordering boards, and myself that whole time. So when it came to Kelly, it was 2015. He and his partners bought Firewire. And at that point, we were all happened to be in Australia at the same time, and he was looking at my performance board. He goes, "Yeah, it's cool. It was alternative materials." He goes, "But I like my tails," and he pointed with his toe. "I like a little straight spot here, and I like the tip to be a little more round." And I've seen that, So I was like, okay. So fast forward a few months, and it was time to make him some boards, and that conversation.
But when you say time to make him some boards,
they said, "Hey, can you make him some boards?"
You're like, "No, I don't think I can."
Yeah, I'm busy.
Right?
I was actually doing my first Molokai.
Oh, really?
I was out it was July, and they called the CEO, said, "Hey, Kelly needs boards." And they up until then they'd said don't bug him because he's doing the tour, and then he said something like, hey, I need some boards, like let's try some of the in-house shapers. And we had known each other, Kelly and I, but so I finally.
How did you already know him?
We met through the Johnsons on the North Shore.
Petey, because Petey was, so that's Jack Johnson's older brother, and Petey was a lifeguard and a big time prone.
Yeah, he won Catalina and he got second through Brendan Shea.
I think it's so funny because I think some people go, hold on, what? Are you talking about Jack Johnson?
His older brother.
But Jack's an incredible surfer.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole family's incredible.
Yeah.
Pipeline.
And my dad knew his dad.
Oh, no way.
That's how we knew.
World.
Super small world, yeah.
So you get the opportunity to shape some boards for Kelly.
Yeah, and Kelly's like, Kelly. And I knew exactly what to
No, hold on. Most of us don't know. You say, oh, Kelly. Most of us don't know. Like,
no, the public, the part of him being super, super intense and super focused on his equipment that part's absolutely true. And so I knew I was up against that. We'd had the conversation in Australia about, what he would like on his board. I know exactly what you want, man. Just give me the chance. Put me in, coach. And so I made those boards, and then and then it was quiet. Like he kept showing up at heats with another board. I'm like, man, where are mine? What happened to them? And then 2 years later, 2017, a buddy of his from Florida says, hey, let's go surf. They're at Lowers together. Kelly's all, yeah, grab one of those 3 boards that I'd made. They're all too small for me. The guy's like, they're too big for me, but I'll surf this one. And so they went out, and he's like, caught a couple waves, and he's like, Kelly, you're going to like this board.
Who was it?
It was Dave. I forget his last name, but I owe him a couple boards, that's for sure. He goes, Kelly, you're going to like this board. And Kelly's like, no, it's, whatever. After his 4th or 5th wave, he just takes his leash off and shoots it over to him. And Kelly's like, okay, whatever. He's got 1 billion boards. Everyone wants something from the
But Dave has
guy.
some influence. If he can go, hey, Kelly, ride this board.
They were childhood friends.
Got it.
Yeah, and Kelly trusted him. So he's like, all right. And Kelly says he told me that July in 2017, he's like, I stood up and I went, shit, this thing's insane. And he did his first pump high line at a wave at Lowers. I think it's in video. And just went to town on it. And right away, his feet were in the right spot. Went to J-Bay with it. And we started meeting then. And that board, actually, I still have. That particular board. Oh, yeah, man.
No,
it's in the shed forever. And so that changed.
It's in the shed. Yeah, like most of us would have that hiding on a wall in a safe deposit box somewhere. Right.
Well, my shed's locked up. Gotcha. Yeah, that was cool. That was a very huge moment for me in my career, and just just the feeling like I really snuck through the seams. Pulled it off.
Yeah. Do you remember that first whatever it was, a phone call from him going, hey?
Yeah.
Like how?
Yeah, it was like, hey, can you meet me at Firewire? Kind of. It was actually even through Travlee, and then we were meeting in the parking lot, And then this is what people don't really know. He's just a dude, man. He just is stoked on surfboards. He freaking loves surfing. He loves surfing, like through and through. He'll surf, shit surf. He just loves surfing, loves surfboards. And if you're me, who he knows, but am I like Al Merrick to him? No way. But he'll give me a shot. And then he'll have the conversation, and he knows what he wants, but he's also goes, but what do you think? He'll ask that back to you. Well, here's what I think. And then one time we were developing a board, and he goes, well, what do you think of it? And I haven't surfed one yet. He goes, dude, like, what are you fucking doing? Like, you haven't made your version? Because I'm bigger. And so to translate his shapes, like a 5'9" FRK up to my 6'1" FRK, it's a pretty slippery slope.
It's not just like
it's
expand it. You got to change it a lot.
Jordy Smith is the perfect example of someone who's like, come on, don't make me your Felipe Toledo board. Make me my board. It's a different animal. And so like to be able to service Firewire, you need to hit it all. And so, or Slater Designs in this case. But yeah, so that was a relationship of intensity and just very, the guy's extremely, he's a gentleman too, so he'll give you a shot.
So that's incredible. Spending time with him over these years with his board under your feet, what has that meant to your craft? And then what's it meant to your, business or whatever?
Yeah. So the craft side, it's that, taking that intensity that I saw with Archie or with Kelly on the boards, because we surfed a few times together, kind of a lot of different spots, and just seeing how intense it is for them when they're surfing. It's like, holy shit, man, this isn't, I thought I was hardcore and a big surfer. And I was like, shit, this is a whole nother, it's like their life is on the line on every pump of every wave, you know?
It's an F1 car next to a Ferrari. Like,
fully.
They're both super, like, but they're not related.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I mean, every time I've seen a pro or somebody of that caliber in person, never up close like you, never Kelly, like it's a different, it's
different deal.
It's not even a different sport, it's a different universe.
Yeah.
Like it has no relation to what I do.
And I felt like I needed to take that, whatever that is, and put it into the board. And so that's what it's done to my craft is it's made me go, okay, fucking A, man, I can't, there's no chintzing, there's no shortcuts, there's no, if I'm sweating half of a millimeter, it's like, what are you sweating? No, sweat the half a millimeter. They care.
Well, it's interesting, and I always wonder if I got on one of those boards, if it was for whoever the right weight, like, would I notice, like, would I be able to surf
fully?
And you notice, because I've gotten on other people's boards over the years where it was somebody's used board and I was like, it's the best board I ever ridden because it was made for somebody. It was super refined. Ironically, Skip Sneed, I don't know if you know that. Skip was the surfing magazine editor for a while. He had a beach magazine here in Newport called Ghetto Juice.
Yeah, I remember that.
He's very well known, but he works with me and he does all of our marketing. And I told him that I was coming in with you and he goes, dude, my best board I've ever had, he got from Andrew Doheny that you had made for him. Yep. He goes, I broke it, I cried. He's like, it was the best board I ever rode. So
that's killer.
But that's the experience. I had a board that was Robbie Todd's, and I'm like, I surfed like current in my head.
For sure.
All right.
Yeah. And you know who Guy Ritchie was on the Joe Rogan podcast a long time ago talking about a custom suit. He's all, mate, and his monologue about that, I'm like, okay, that's the board.
That's incredible.
That's what you want the board to feel like.
Have you been able to apply all the stuff that you've learned from working with Kelly and other people like Kelly, because there's a lot of others too, into normal human boards, like the rest of your lineup?
For sure. And the meat and potatoes of what makes a board work is the rocker and the fin placement, and that's what Ethan said. That's what Ben Ipa says. And, that concept. And then because you can get so far lost into the weeds and there's so many options, it's infinite on how you want to make a board. The structure of keeping it underbuilt basically and the attitude towards the rocker and fins and that underbuilding, even though they're complicated boards, to constantly be taking things away is a mentality that I think applies to the most high performance and the most like glider-y.
Oh, so interesting.
So yeah, for sure.
If anybody wants more surfboard nerd work, information, there's a lot of content out there with you right now talking about board design, fins, placement, rocker, everything that you're talking about. We won't do that here, but there's a ton. So you can find, and I had mentioned earlier, I just listened to your 2 with David Scales on Surf Splendor, and you go into a lot of that stuff. And there's even further, deeper ones. I know there's a ton. We're not doing that. We're not going to do that. But this walks us right into, you're talking Kelly and the super high performance at the highest level, Stab in the Dark. So Stab is an online portal, pure surf, super high performance, super fun. There's all kinds of interesting content. Hardcore.
Aussies.
Yeah, but it's behind a paywall, so you can't watch all of it. But Stab in the Dark, if you're a surf nerd, this is when you take pro surf, some of the best surfers in the world, give them a dozen unknown boards. They don't know who shaped them. They're blank. They don't know. And then they ride them and they pick one. Kelly Slater picked yours. And there's been some controversy around it and all that, but that's good. But you still, regardless of what you think about it, you still won it with Kelly Slater. And then, but there was controversy. Then the next one was Ethan Ewing. No controversy, and you got second place.
Yeah.
Back to back. So in the last 2, you were number 1 and number 2 with the best shapers in the whole world.
Yeah.
Under the feet of the best surfers. And I have to say, Kelly surfed kind of shitty waves throughout Australia and stuff on it. Ethan Ewing, his surfing in those waves. Yeah. If you haven't seen, if you're a surf nerd, watch Stab in the Dark with Ethan on all of these. It's the best surfing I've ever seen. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
A lot of people say that.
And dude, to know that your board was right there and got second, like it's got to be fun to be able to sit back and watch. Millions of people are watching the same thing. You're like, that's my board, and you got a phone call or whatever. You were there. Like, how is that? We don't need to go into the depth of any of the stuff, but being at that level in the room with these things and being such a focal point. How's that been for you?
So it's funny. It's, there's a poem, I think it's Rupert Kipling, called If. And it's been a lesson in one of the lines he says is you got to treat the ultimate triumph or the ultimate failure as two imposters. You have to treat them the same. And it's been a lesson in that. Basically, like, I won the Kelly thing, and then there's the outfall. I had to turn off social media and go deep and just focus on very zoomed out, personal, very private world stuff of what goes on in my head and what that means to my overall existence, and that sounds super far out, but it was like an opportunity to have my 30 years of making boards. I was super passionate about it, fully committed, raised my family with it. It's a craft and a surfing I love, ocean I love, and then to be thrown into a thing without knowing all the information. It was a very public way. It wasn't overall, I mean, God, I can't imagine what celebrities and real, famous people have to go through. But for me, on my level, I keep be pretty quiet. I have a house in Costa Rica, and I have nothing better than sitting on the porch with one or two people drinking coffee. So to be out and people I don't know talking about me like they do know me, and that kind of thing was like, okay, this is cool. Like, I'm not going to freak out about it. It's, worse things could happen. Sure. And it's right? Surfing. Maybe I'm a little bit of a bigger fish but it's still a very, very small pond. So we're going to worry about it, but it was still an opportunity to like use that imposter and get above it.
Yeah. I can only imagine, because when I think of you being, well, I think anybody's picking up, like, very stealth.
Yeah.
Like, and
you
just
mentioned, seam, man.
Yeah, right. Find the seam. I love that. That's super. But so to see you out there, now again, it's great.
Yeah.
To perfect a craft to such a level,
get acknowledgement for it. I was like, wow,
at
that's
that level,
sweet. No,
right? Like,
great.
I mean, like you said, it may be a small pond, but it's not that small.
Mm-hmm. Not in Australia.
And in the world that we're passionate about,
yeah.
It's the very top of it. So, dude, just huge accolades, huge praise for you. Like, it's got to feel really good to from where you started, the path all the way to get that recognition. And without, like, it wasn't like you bought your way in. Like, you've earned your way in,
That's how I felt. Time. I felt like I've earned my way here. And then to not have that on the show, it's happened a little bit since the Ethan one. And the Stab guys, to their credit, they knew the result of the Ethan one before the Kelly one aired. So so I was like, sort of, if you look at, this is what I learned in my English degree. If you look at a fable, there's the perpetrator, the victim, the hero, the joker, and they were doing a classic script of good story. And so I was this guy over here, whatever you want to call me. I'm self-critical, and so I felt like a joker. And I'm like, hey man, tell my freaking story. What the hell? And so I felt like that after the first one. And now I talked with them, and I'm doing some media with them, and they're doing a good job of reconciling a lot of that for me from a ego, very superficial way. I wanted, hey man, don't think that I was just placed in here by luck or because I know Kelly or something like that. I'm here for a reason. And that part of it was like really uncomfortable to not have that be told. And so to have the Ethan one go well was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Now I can just 100%. Go back and hide.
And they were even when it was, even in the controversy, they were very, like, they were all like, he seems like a good guy. Like, you were kind of an unknown. You weren't in the room.
That was bullshit too. Oh. Yeah, those guys know who I am. I've met DH a few times. And
it's all made for TV drama. Hey, listen, they're trying to sell something.
Sure.
And
we all got to stay in business. So,
well, listen, for anybody, if you haven't picked up on the fact that English major has stuck, like, like the way you speak and just being able to share the fables examples and all that, like, dude, it's super fun and cool. Okay, so we're going to pivot. So that's incredible. There's this whole underlying seam, I would have said theme, but a seam of prone paddling we talked about. And the other thing I also alluded to is when you were very tied in with some people, Mike Eaton comes to mind. I know you had some interactions with Velzy over the years. Can you let's talk prone now. We're just going to go through prone real quick, but talk about the people, and they may have influenced you in surf as much, but I don't know. But I met those guys through prone paddling.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things, like I love surf history and everything a lot because of prone. Like that's where I met a lot of these absolute idols.
Yeah, they were seamless for them.
Got it. Talk about prone paddling for you and why it's been something you've done now for over 30 years.
Yeah. So to me, it was when I first wanted to do Catalina, I thought, well, there's a hard race that's not a run. And it has a lot to do with surfing. And the history of it was really apparent to me because of my dad. And I was like, okay, if I get good at paddling, it's not ever going to hurt my surfing, and it's going to make me more comfortable in big waves, and I'll never not be able to swim in, so let's do that. So I started doing that. And to do something really, really hard was baked into my childhood. And you got to do hard shit to really rattle your cage and persevere and make it through something that you're like, holy shit. And my first Catalina was a perfect example. I was like, on paddling away, and I look at my dad, I'm all, is that the 20-mile marker or the 10-mile marker coming up on the mid-channel fucking 10-miler? Yeah. And I'm all, I think it's the 10-miler, but I feel like it's the 20. And my dad's all, it's the 10. And I'm like, fuck. And I sat up and give me a sandwich, man. This is a long day. So that was gnarly. 8 hours and 14 minutes.
Oof. What year?
That was 92.
How old?
19.
19.
And
so, that's so rad. But come on. We talk to all the young guns all the time. If you cross that channel at any time in your life,
totally,
it's an accomplishment. If you cross that channel as a young gun, think how much
sets the stage.
It sets the stage for
perseverance.
What can't you do after that? In the water, out of the water.
Yeah, right? Life. It's a life lesson because you're in a dark place, man. And when you're hurting that bad and you're going, why am I doing this? Like, no life depends on this. And yet I'm going to push myself. And there's something that you learn. I don't think you can put it in your conscious. I think you learn it through your body, and just like your experience of life is when you make it through something that you didn't have to, just cause, doing something hard as fuck, just cause, teaches you something that translates and that you can carry with you like a rich life experience into the day. And people around you, whether you know it or not, are feeling it. And it's like, it's rad.
Dude, ditto. Yes. I celebrate that a million times.
But so the seamlessness between surfing and paddling is like I broke a leash not even 4 days ago, and it was getting dark, and it was big. I was down in Costa Rica, and I was alone. Everyone was like, what are you doing? And my leash broke. I'm like, classic. And now I have to swim in and hope my board doesn't hit rocks. And it was totally cool. I was like, this is even if I did die, that's cool. But like, I know I'm going to get in. Like, I can swim in. It was pounding and gnarly, and just swam in. And that kind of just giving yourself an opportunity to learn for those kinds of things, that you're going to be okay. And even just with life, I was talking to a buddy whose dad just passed, and, we're going to be all right. That's what we're doing here, is experiencing all this shit. So let's go.
Rad. Well, you came back. How many times have you done the Classic?
I think 10. Yeah. I know 10. I have that 10th trophy. Okay. I don't think I've done 11.
I got you. I got 11.
Okay, cool. Congratulations.
But I'm not on the perpetual trophy, and you are. So you won it in 2015.
Yeah.
How'd that feel?
That was fucking amazing. Like, so I had done Molokai the month before, and did pretty well in that. And that was a big accomplishment because the Australians they've dominated that.
Yeah. How'd you do on Molokai?
That was third.
Whew.
Yeah, wow. I was really stoked on that. And I think I almost died. Like, that was so hard.
And those sports aren't related. Prone in California and prone in Hawaii are not. I would say it's moguls and slalom.
Yeah,
they're
and
completely
heat.
different. Oh, and heat.
Coming from a California guy coming out there to race in the heat was mind-boggling to me. So, and so came out, did Catalina, and I couldn't believe it because I was paddling against Max first and Cannon Smith, and just
Max won it. Max has won it 5 times now, so you're with the hammers.
And it was windy, and I had a board that was my little 17-footer. I still have that board too.
No rudder. We'll talk about boards in a second because that's bonkers.
And it was perfect for it because it was a side chop, and I kind of felt like I was just clacking. I just got done with Molokai, so it felt flat. And shitty conditions, and it, mentally I was paddling along. I had my dad, my son, and my good friend Chris in the boat, and this guy Steve Powell, who ended up becoming a good friend. And I came across a big the fear is to have to stop because of the fucking cargo lane.
Yeah, for sure.
the big ships comes right through the channel.
We've all had to do it too.
Yeah. And I could see a boat coming and I'm like, hey, is that boat going to be a problem to the boat? My crew. They're all, no, you're going to be behind that. I'm all, no, the other one. And they're like, fuck. And they're quiet. I'm like, okay, they're quiet. This is all happens over 20 minutes. It's
because it's miles, and these are 1,000-foot long super tankers going,
and
they don't slow down. They're going way faster than you think.
They're not stopping.
Way faster
than you think. But this is my 8th or 9th Catalina around there. And so I knew to look for it. Steve Fairbrother, those guys were always talking about it. And I was like, oh shit, I'm good. I'm going to go right behind it. And so I didn't, no foot off the gas. I kept hammering because I was in first, but these guys are lethal. And I went so close to it. It was so amazing. I was looking up at it and I went whistling at the guy steering it.
No way.
Was right up. And he's just like, he ended up being a Russian guy. And my friend Chris was talking to him on the radio.
No way.
He's all, now we got it. You're good. Just let him rip, And the Russian guy, was just like, yeah, I'm not going to hit him. Don't worry about it. And he was just like salty sea dog, and my crew was that way too. And I'm like, I'm not stopping, man. And when I got behind, I was going through the
big weight behind it
and the turbulence. I'm like, whoa, man, get down. So I got down on my stomach. And when I got through that, caught a little bit of their wake on the other side. I'm like, man, I'm going to win. And the goosebumps the whole way. Full gas. And then the only time I questioned it was I was getting close to the end, a couple miles out. And I'm like, I looked at Chris and he's all, you got a good quarter mile. And I'm like, fuck, that's not enough, I could tank. I'm really good at falling apart in the races. and so I'm like, give me some food and, whatever. And I just kept going. It ended up being, I had a lot bigger gap. I think he said 200 yards and he lied. And so, yeah, when I finished, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, it was great.
Well, if I recall, congratulations again. If I recall correctly, you'd taken a couple years off. You did it on your own board, no rudder. Mm-hmm. The Molokai thing makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But most of us, you're the only person that paddles on an unlimited board without a rudder. And your boards, we'll talk about it in a second, but your boards are like everything else you do. They are unconventional. You have they super light, super stiff, super high, single concave, no rudder. There's not a lot of us that have paddled them, but when I look at them, and I've heard people go, I can't paddle it. It's so different. But you and Chris Russell, and I think you're talking about Chris.
Yeah.
I saw Chris a couple of weeks ago, still hammering.
Yeah.
You guys make those things go incredibly well.
I think if you got used to it, but it is unconventional. And the water's coming off the bow. So paddlers know what water's doing.
Yeah.
And so it feels different. It feels like so different that you might not want to do it. And I get it.
But no rudder in those conditions was a bit of a mind blower for most of us. Going, how did he do it? I didn't race that year, but I think I was at the finish. But pretty amazing to watch. Funny story, because you talked about blowing up at the end. Now, you blowing up at the end, I don't think happens the way you're portraying. But in the closest I ever got to in a Catalina Classic was in 2000.
Okay.
You finished, and then Chris Russell, who we were talking about, finished, and then me.
Yeah.
But I got as close as I ever got to you, Dan, and we're probably somewhere around Redondo.
Yeah.
And I can see you. I don't know it's you, but I'm coming up on you. And you, whoever this guy is right in front of me, sits up, takes a Coke.
Oh, yeah.
And slugs it.
Yeah.
Lays down and walks on me.
Yeah.
And I was dumbfounded. Now, this is 25 years ago.
Yeah.
It's before energy drinks and nutrition. We were going on candy bars and sodas.
Snickers.
And I found out afterward it was
Coke.
Reportedly, you had opened it the night before, so it was flat.
Yeah.
So you get all the sugar
Yeah.
and caffeine. And dude, I remember going, what just happened? And I got to the beach. I didn't know it was you until I got to the beach. And it was you, but it was you and Chris Russell and me.
Yeah, yeah.
And then so that was a funny story, and I've told it a bunch. I'm like, this guy sits up, which you never kind of do.
No.
Takes a Coke and then blows me out.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the cool thing, or interesting, my first year was 96, which Buddy Bond said was, it was a Chubasco and they almost canceled because the conditions
50% of the people
didn't finish.
Yeah.
And we were on the wrong kind of boards, no rudders, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Not on the kind of board you were on. And Laird Hamilton was there.
Yep.
Laird was gonna win it. Helicopters and photographers, and nobody paid attention to anybody else.
Yeah.
You beat him by 40 minutes, and he beat me by 20. And I was like, nice work. You got Laird, It was pretty classic.
Feeding Laird.
Hey, you got him. Your boards are, well, listen, would Firewire ever make a Mann Mankind prone board?
Not right now. They certainly could, and there's a geek that would I'd love to make it with him because he has the control over the software and hardware, machines and materials that would just make an insane one. But it's unfortunately and understandably they're a big business that needs to stay focused on boards.
Well, listen, I know that you in prone. I know that you did your race. Now it's almost 30 years, 1997 till 2025, and you did top 5. So you should probably, if you're going to do the classic, it's another good year to go out and smash it.
It's not now or never, but it feels kind of getting close to now or never.
Hey, if you're trained, it's always like, I'm already halfway there. Might as well. Like the base is high.
But like we were talking about, I have to be stoked in the next 2 months. So we'll see.
I always say I want to train for it again, but I haven't done it in 5 years.
No, you need that spark.
Yeah, I don't have it right
I think that's when you get hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
that's why I'm not doing that, because I don't want to get hurt. Sure. Listen, I skipped over it. You spent a lot of time with Mike Eaton. I've heard you talk about Del Velzy, and I had access. How was it getting to spend time with icons like those guys?
Yeah, great. And what was so cool was their modesty, humility, but then also their certainness that they knew their shit. Dale was classic. He was way more of a cowboy than a surfboard guy or surfer. He wore cowboy boots and
big time.
He's
always mustache.
His curly thing.
Classic.
Yeah, he was rad and very gracious. Both of them were so incredibly gracious with their knowledge and time. I went up to Dale's shaping room a couple times, and just like being in there was so like surreal. And then Eaton, I had a way closer relationship with for a longer time, and way more of a mentor and just a gentleman. Like they were both complete badasses and renegades, but then also were gentlemen. It was a cool.
It's a cool model.
Yeah, really cool model. Yeah, so Amazing. It was really fun.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Like I said before, like getting the opportunity to spend time with guys like that has all been through prone, not through surf for me. You've had access to all kinds of people now, I would imagine, through surf. How big of a deal is that mentoring world to you, and are you now providing that to anybody else?
I hope so. I like it. I think it's really important because, sort of the reason I feel like those guys were, to me, what I feel like they were is because of the paddling, because of the life experience. They were older gentlemen by the time I was hanging around them, and they'd had the family, drama. They've had people die, friends die, that richness baked into them. They've done hard paddle races. They've built things that they shouldn't be building, and they've made mistakes, and they've had that, layers and layers of coolness baked into them at that point, and then were gracious enough to like be present for me. And if we can, as I'm getting older, 53, if I can start doing that with younger people, it'd be great, and I try to at least be it for my family and my nieces and nephews and my kids, and I love it. But I think it's vital. I think it's an essential part of humans, especially with all the distractions and the fluff and the this and that, and fear and the way that you can pass on information when you're actually with somebody is priceless.
Yeah. Rad. It's super interesting and that brings up. I know like a little bit about your family, and I'll ask you about. But you split your time between California and Costa Rica, which you mentioned. You mentioned to me offline that your son's working with you in the business, and I think your kids are about the same age as mine, which is fun to watch the evolution happen, right?
Yep.
And hopefully we have a spark to impact them.
Yeah.
But also, you've done a lot of cool stuff. Like let's talk like at 53, thinking about coming back for the Classic, still surfing a ton. I didn't mention it for anybody's sake, but like you still surf a ton, but you also, one of the things that's always kind of been stuck with you is the fact that you never go backside.
Oh, yeah.
Switch. Like the fact that, again, from a legitimacy standpoint, like when I was watching the stab stuff, I'm like, do you guys know these surfs switch? Like always front side? Like that's pretty uncommon and pretty rad, right? I watch Kai Lenny doing it. I'm like, Dan's been doing that for 25 years, right? But I know you've done, like you have a health and fitness model that's very different. That explains why you look 20 years younger than me, and we're only a couple years apart and able to do this stuff. But I know that you have some minimalist focus, and you, because of your back over the years, I remember this, but you're like sleeping on the floor, and I think you've done Wim Hof stuff. Like, what's your health and wellness? Like, I think like everything else, your view of the world's a little different. You kind of mentioned it before, but like, what's keeping you going at the level that you're going?
Yeah, it's sort of like the boards. You know, taking things out is easier than it actually. The result I want in my life comes with letting things go more than taking things on. A bed situation is a good example of that. Like I was buying these beds, trying to fix my, sleeping and having horrible sleep. I'm like, why don't I just sleep on the fucking floor like a yogi? And I started out with like 5 or 6 yoga mats, and then just kept taking them out, And then now I just sleep. I've gone down to 0, but now that's ridiculous, So
does your wife sleep on the floor?
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah. Well, I'm on a hard surface,
Gotcha.
So it's a whole funny thing. And then same with shoes, why don't you? I read Born to Run, that book.
I remember reading that. Yeah.
And his whole hypothesis was you got to make your feet tough. And it's sort of like the whole thing of doing a Catalina. If you do it right and you approach something extremely difficult with the right attitude and the right sort of safety or kind of comfort, but you go and do it anyway, there's a way to beat up your bones to make them stronger than not break them. There's a way to make your feet stronger without hurting them, all that kind of stuff, because we're freaking animals, like if you look at, for me, when I look at myself as a primitive monkey and try to set my life up like that, eat that way, eat food close to the source, treat my body kind of rough, but not ridiculous. But then also detoxify and nourish it at the same time, you can be extremely resilient. And it's not by leaving it alone. It's not by keeping your heart rate at a certain whatever because you're 50. Nah, fuck all that. You got to just go by feeling. I don't have any heart rate stuff hooked up to nothing, stopwatch, beep, beep, that kind of thing, and push as hard as you can, because you have an intelligence that if you listen to it, you'll go, okay, that's too much. I'm going to stop. I've hit that. And I've been, especially training in Costa Rica, man, it's so hot. I did a 3-hour paddle, and I'm like, oh my God, I thought I was going to die. And so there's a threshold that I'm aware of. I'm not being foolish, but sort of that trust that what's up after, especially as you get older. Listen to your older dudes when you're young, maybe, but then when you get older, you should know and push the limit a little bit and then recover and then figure it out. So that kind of going back and forth with that, and not trusting necessarily some information that you hear. Don't even listen to me. Go figure it out for yourself, and push the limits.
Hold on, Instagram doesn't give me everything I need to know.
Well, I mean, Instagram will.
Well, it's really interesting because everything you talked about, Kelly Slater lives by.
Fully, yeah.
You
and
guys
a lot of people do.
A lot of people do, for sure. But like it seems, and you look at the level of performance coming from both of you guys. Like I watch him surf at you guys are the same age, right?
Yeah, he's 9 months older.
And like I look at his body and what he can do, I'm like, my body can't do that anymore.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is taking things out of your life and doing less, and being able to focus, because that relationship between mind, body, and spirit is a constantly needing to be maintained triangulation.
It's so rad. Dan, I like the thread or the seam that goes through all this, going back to your dad and all the things that dad did and kind of stood for and had to get out of the private schools, out of the East Coast, and come over here and kind of, I'm going to do it my way. And you've done it the same way. I'm going to do it my way. Nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. And and maybe the lesson everybody is like, look at the levels of success you can have by following your path. Yeah. Finding your own seam.
Yeah. Because you realizing how unique you are is a byproduct of doing that, and doing that is a byproduct of how unique you are. You know what I mean? So everyone is that way, and we just forget. And then the more you look at your phone and all these kinds of things, it's easier to forget. But go do something hard and you'll remember.
How important is doing something hard?
It's vital. And I see so many people. I'm like, God, just go get your heart rate up. Go do something hard as fuck. Right now. Don't like, breath work. You talked about breath work. It's been huge, a transformation in my life. And understanding what's my thought and what's me, and separating those things. And it's like meditation on steroids, and it makes it so I can do it, because otherwise just meditating, it doesn't work for me. I needed a segue, but doing hard things and finding what works for you is what you're doing here. I feel like in life, that's what we're doing, is figuring those things out. And if you think that it's going and doing what they did or making this amount of money or checking these boxes, those are distractions from what the truth is, I think. Yeah, something like that.
Some good lessons there. I mean, I think we all struggle, again, maybe not everybody, but if you want to be a top performer in whatever sport, work, whatever, you have to figure out the tools and strategies. And I think that so interesting. The same way you shape is the same way you've looked at your life. Like, it's not what you put in, it's what you're pulling. Not that you're not putting, but what you have to pull out.
No, you can overcomplicate easier. Yeah.
It's so interesting. Yeah. I've talked to like ultra endurance people. They're like, I don't run with a watch. Because
cool.
Right? Because I can be this guy.
Yeah.
Like,
and I do.
How am I doing? How am I doing? How am I doing? And
or worrying about what other people are doing. That Strava thing. I'm like, what? That's crazy. You're competing the whole time then.
So we'll end it on this.
Yeah.
How important, maybe to summarize this whole portion of it, is to follow your own seam, do your own thing, and figure out, like, I love what you just said, separate my thought from me.
Yeah.
Like, how big is, in your world of getting to where are you today, I call it success or fulfillment or whatever, like, how much of that work has been, like, transformational for you?
Yeah, I'd say since 2016, it's been basically all I do is try to focus on the inside, what's really going on, and gut, like, follow your gut. That is an understatement. Wow. So, yeah, I'd say most of every morning I have a routine of breathing and doing things like that, surrounding myself with people who talk like that and are interested in those types of things. Like, this kind of conversation is huge for me because most of the time I'm talking about toe on your fin placement, It's like, who gives a shit, man?
Hey, a lot of people do.
But it's rad, but to not devalue those things for me is really important too, because they're all a part of this too. And so the entirety of the experience is what's happening, and what is mine and what is mine to leave is where I spend most of my time, because most of it's just being present. Most of it's just like, this is pretty rad. This soccer game going on over there. You just keep showing these highlights and people walking by, living and sitting here with you, someone I've known for so long, never been able to really sit and talk, and having these life experiences, talking to your buddy whose dad just passed, and listening to that, it just makes you, like fucking juiced up. It's what life is. That's all we're doing. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to achieve. We're getting nowhere except for we're just having this. That's all we're really doing. So.
I love that. I think that part, that energy to be like, to get fired up. Like, I think a lot of people go through life kind of like in third gear.
No.
Like, you got to hit fifth gear, right?
Yeah.
You got to. And you probably got to hit first.
Yeah. You got, right? Yeah, exactly.
I'm not so good at hitting that.
I know.
Third to fifth, I can do. Third to first, I'm not very good at.
And it's true, though. That's a good point. Yeah. It's the entirety.
Yeah. I'm not good at removing things. I think maybe my lesson from today with you is like, I got to figure out how to remove things.
Because there's some juice under there.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's like some pureness. Yeah.
Dan, this is so rad. I love this. I could do this all day.
Cool.
Dan, if somebody wanted to find you, it's not hard, but if somebody that just found you, like, who's this guy? Wow, I want to learn more. Like, where do they go to find more about you?
Well, we're working on a website for my boards, and we'll have a little bit more like there. But unfortunately or fortunately, the accessibility of Instagram, I'm not very good at it, and I get overwhelmed by it. But I do, like, I fix my slippers, not these ones, but I post about that kind of stuff. The local slippers that you get in Hawaii? Yeah.
Just the little rubber ones?
Yeah, the little rubber chew. They the little thing that breaks, I fix those and post on that. No, but yeah, all my surfboard stuff's on there.
I can make you the best surfboard in the world, or I can fix your $3 flip flop as opposed to throwing it away.
They're like $8 now.
I know. Right? Amazing. Well, listen, if anybody wants, it's Dan Mann, Mann. There's
double underscore
plenty out there on you if you want to nerd out on fixing boards or fixing
surfboard.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Super rad. Thanks so much for being here.
No, thanks for having me. This is a great setup.
It's been fun to watch this.
Keep doing what you're doing. What you're serving. You're serving a great need.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Super rad. Thanks, Dan.
All right.